Hello everyone, today I will go through the steps of drawing a portrait. I will show you how I draw the overall head, the proportions, and where the different parts of the head go. Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I'm a self-taught artist. I have been learning the fundamentals of art and I share my learnings and experiences here. This is going to be a two-part video. The first part would be the sketch phase and the drawing, and the second part would be the painting. So we'll start first by going over the general shape of the head and the proportions, and then I will go through an example where the end result is this painting that you see here. So first you start with the circle. You can try a couple of times to get the circle right. Then you can put a horizontal and a vertical line to kind of divide it into halves, vertically and horizontally. Then what we want to do, because the head is not really spherical like that, so you want to get this, trim the sides a little bit. So what you want to do is kind of divide the head in a way from the top and bottom so that the center represents about 2/3 of that sphere. So the top and the bottom sections there are only total to about 1/3 of that sphere. Then from the lines where it meets the sphere or the circle, you draw the vertical lines. And that's kind of how you slice the head. So once you do the sides, we can move on to the chin area. So from the center of that sphere to the vertical line that we have to the second horizontal line, we need to make another line that's equal in length and move it down to the bottom, and that will give us the chin area, the bottom of the head. Now the sides also, they're not really completely flat, so what we need to do is kind of round them a little bit, and what you can do is it's almost like bringing the side arc or sphere in a little bit to make it more to kind of make it somewhere in between the flat and the initial sphere roundness that you had. Then you can connect the lines from the chin to the side lines that you had. You can clean it up a little bit by erasing a little bit of that side guideline that you have for the spheres to make, kind of just clean it up and make it a little bit more easy to see. You can see the proportions here now. We have the head, and we have 3 lines in the head, the top, middle, and bottom lines, and then the bottom of the chin. So these 3 lines divide the head into thirds. So the top line is kind of the hairline. The next line from the top, if we go from the top down, the next line is the eyebrow line. Then you have the bottom of the nose, and then you move to the bottom of the head or the chin. Now, we can jump into the example that I have, and in that example, I'll start drawing, and I'll explain a little bit more using these guidelines where everything else goes. So let's start here. Again, the circle, the sphere, cut it vertically and horizontally, then do the sides, put the guidelines for the bottom of the nose, the chin, and then connect the sides to the bottom of the face. And then the next thing I can do here is put a line in the middle between the eyebrow line and the bottom of the nose. Right in the center will be the bottom of the eye socket. So you can draw that line. It gives you an idea of where that goes. Then as you can see, I drew 2 dots on either side of the center line. And those represents almost the area of the top of the eyebrow where it connects to the nose. So it comes in, and if you look at your face or any head reference, you can see where that is. So it comes in, and then you can just do a straight line to represent kind of the nose, the structure of the nose. And we can play around with that later and get it more details. There's another guideline that you can add for the jaw, and it goes almost from the line of the eyebrow to towards the chin, and it follows that curvature. Depending on the head that you're doing or the reference you have, you can see how that goes. Now that helps you identify where the eye socket ends. So the eye socket does not go all the way to the end of the head horizontally, but it kind of goes close to the jawline and it stops. So you can see me draw that there. Then when we come to the bottom section to put the mouth, if we look at the lines from the bottom of the nose to the bottom of the chin, you can divide that into thirds. And then the first third, the first line that we do, is where the mouth goes, and the bottom one is the top of the chin. So then I start a little bit doing the details of the nose. And maybe we can do another video detailing the structures of the different parts of the face to go more into details on how to draw them. But really, you have the tip of the nose. You can represent that with a circle, and then you can extrude the sides a little bit to extend the nose and create the sides of the nose. And you remember always to flip your canvas to make sure everything looks correct. So when I was drawing this, you can see that I did that and things look a little bit tilted. So you just do a little bit of adjustment here and there until you're satisfied with the proportions and the angles. You'll see me here trying to get a little bit more into details and trying to kind of get it perfect or trying to get it as good as I can in this stage. But you can kind of have it rough if you want and then do a line art on top of it, or you can just try and modify it here. So then we can, on that line, the top line that we have, we can draw the eyebrows. You can depending on your reference, you can see what shape the eyebrow needs to be. So the next thing I wanted to work on is the eyes. Here, we want to find out where to place the eyes. So the line that we have, so if we look at the eye socket vertical length, we draw a horizontal line right in the center of that. Then we use the nose as a reference to find out again for the placement of the eyes. So you can draw a vertical line from the side of the nose, the end of the nose, all the way up to the eyebrows. And when you do that, you can find out exactly where the eye should start. Now, that horizontal line that we drew is not where the eye or the corner of the eye starts. Actually, the corner of the eye starts a little bit below that. So that when you have that reference, just start a little bit below it. Then the eye, so again, there are many shapes to the eye, but if we want to just simplify, you just really need 3 lines or 3 angles in the top side and 3 angles in the bottom side. So you take you take it an angle up, then horizontal, then a little bit down, not as much down as the first line. So you can see, so the outer corner is on the upper side of that line. So the corners are not actually aligned. And it kind of gives that angular shape to the eye. So then you can move on and do the same on the other side. And you can see also one thing to note, that the tops and the bottoms of the eye on both sides should be the same. And also another way to know if the placement is correct, the distance between the eyes is the same distance as another eye. So if you copy paste the length of your eye and put it between the eyes, it should fit very well in there. So then you can again here play around with it and make sure your proportions are right. The eyes look similar in shape before we move on. So then the next thing I do, of course, our eyes don't have these hard angles and edges to them. So you can soften those angles, soften those corners by just going over it and making them a little bit more round. Depending on the style you want, maybe if you're doing more stylized, maybe you want to have those corners. And then after that, drawing the eyelid from the top and the bottom. And depending on the angle, you may or may not be able to see those. But let's draw them here to kind of give you a reference, because there's a thickness to the eyelid and it's not just a line. Then we can move towards the mouth. So the mouth, so again, we go 1/3 down from the bottom of the nose towards the bottom of the chin. Then you can just draw a line, and then from there, what you can do is almost draw like almost a heart shape that goes up on both sides and then corner it back down. And that creates the center top piece of the mouth. Then what you can do is draw the lines of the mouth to give it the facial expression almost. Then from the bottom, you can create, as you can see here, almost a round shape, and then try and connect them to each other. Now the mouth also has different parts and different ways of doing it, but for simplicity, you can see here how I did it. And remember, at any stage, you can use the liquify tool to adjust if you feel the proportions are not right. The sooner you get this, or the sooner you do this during the sketching phase, the easier it is. Once you start getting more into detail, it might be more difficult to do that. So then if you want to go a little bit more, you can draw the neck and the shoulders and try and expand a little bit. I'm not going to go into details of that because we're going to just focus on the head. But let's look at the proportions in this one now. So when I'm looking at this, it feels, something doesn't feel right. So when I'm looking at this, I see that the third where the eye and the nose is looks a little bit smaller than the bottom third. So I move it a little bit down. And then the second thing I look at is where the eye is. So again, when I divide that initial horizontal line that I did that divides the area, the third of the eye and nose, was not really centered. So makes my eye look a little bit higher than it needs to be. So I also select that and move it a little bit lower, and it looks a little bit better that way. Then as you can see, I move a little bit more into details with the neck and shoulders and try and add a little bit of that. Then we want to move into the ears. We haven't done that yet. So the ears sit in between the line of the eyebrow and the line of the bottom of the nose. So you can simplify it first by drawing kind of a narrow box of where the ears would sit. And I know the ear might look very complicated to some, but maybe I'll do a video on exactly how to draw the ear and the different parts of the ear. And once you understand it, you'll realize it's actually very simple to draw. But you can start by simplifying it as a box first to get the angles right, and then you can add the details afterwards. And once we do the video about how to draw the ears exactly, you'll see how easy it is. This looks like we have most of the facial features done now, so then we can add the hair if we want. In this case, I didn't want to really focus too much on hair because that could be a class of its own, so I decided to just add a headscarf for this drawing. So you can see me adding it here and adding a little bit more details for that. And once you do that, the sketch phase is finished. So you can see how the different stages and different proportions of the head. So we'll stop the video here on how I draw heads for the sketch phase. And I will upload the next video next week on how I paint and render this drawing. And you'll be able to see the final result there and exactly the steps I take to reach it. Thank you for watching the video, and I hope you liked it, and I hoped I was able to explain the different steps. I know there's a lot more details that goes into drawing the different parts of the head. And I'm planning on releasing videos on the eyes, the nose, the mouth, and the ears to help you know the structure and the construction of those body parts. And you can combine those videos with this one to get a complete idea on how I draw the head. And if you found this video to be useful, please don't forget to like and subscribe, and see you in the next video.